So I got a bunch of books at Goodwill for my birthday from my grandpa for my birthday as well. And when I saw this cover, I didn't realize I've read this book before. And I don't know if the cover was different or what. I just had to have it because it reminded me of one of my favorite cowboys on the hit TV show, The Cowboy Way, Booger Brown. And I was like, oh yeah, I've got to have that book. But it was very nice to reread it a second time. And right now, yes, it's a change of glasses. I'm going to read to you the back cover, then the author's note, and then my notes. And then I'll give you the book rating. You can't go it alone in a place this hard. Her latest love life disaster behind her, Libby Brown flees to Wyoming countryside to fulfill a childhood dream by starting her own chicken farm from scratch. But the West is wilder than she expected, and while she's determined to succeed on her own, the sexy, sturdy cowboy next door sure is helpful. Rancher Luke Rollins is impressed by the sassy, independent city girl, and he's ready to prove he's with her for the long haul. But a mystery from the past soon threatens their new bond and tests their love in ways Luke and Libby never could have imagined. Here's the author's note. Dear reader, I hope you've enjoyed your stay in Lacaduc, Wyoming. It's not a place you'll find on any map. It's a compilation of the most interesting quirks from dozens of tiny towns scattered across the open spaces of the Cowboy State. Wyoming is a boom and bust world where there's communities come and go like dust on the wind. When the mine or the oil fields dry up or the beef prices plummet, whole towns disappear. The hopeful traveler sees a dot on the map and turns off the highway for a chance to eat and drink, and greeted by a few crumbling foundations, 2 trailers, and a cow. It was my love for these wind-blown places and uniquely resilient people who live that inspired this book. My goal is to keep them alive in the pages and to preserve their spunky, can-do spirit of the West. My other goal is to show you through this story how important it is to open your heart to new places and people. Like Libby, I'd given up on love just before I wrote this book. But I met my own Luke 2 weeks after I'd sworn off men forever. It wasn't easy to open up my heart, but I did. And now I have a sign over my desk that reminds me love is a risk worth taking. That message at my heart of all of my books. Open your heart and let yourself fall in love with your friends, with your funky little hometown, with the landscape that you live in. And maybe, just maybe, the right person will open the door and stay forever. That's my wish for you. Writing is a solitary profession, but messages from readers keep me going. Drop me a line at joankennedybooks.com and tell me about your hometown, your heartbreak, your pets, your projects. In return, I'll share my own life at the wild edge of Wyoming. Also, look for me on Facebook as Joanne Kennedy Books. I'm always ready to make new friends because that's a risk worth taking too. Joanne Kennedy, Stillwater, August 10th, 2018. So, after a bad breakup, Libby Brown decides to move from Atlanta. Excuse me, my nose itches. That means somebody's talking about me, right? To the calm countryside out in Wyoming. And right away she meets this hunky country cowboy who is her neighbor, Luke Rollins. She asks if he's from the farm, the big farm down the road. Luke is quick to inform her that she's mistaken. There is no farm, it's a ranch. I love that argument. Luke immediately has his sights set on Libby. However, Libby is unaware or doesn't want to notice. And Libby is a journalist who plans to work for Lacaduc Holler. Luke takes Libby into the town to a lively bar setting called the Roundup. Now Luke introduces his new neighbor of the old Lacaduc ranch to Crystal Hayes, the bartender who knows everyone and everybody. Crystal introduces Libby to Big Mike, Mean Mike, Crazy Mike, Sheriff Cash McIntyre. Back in Atlanta, Libby was a crime reporter for the Journal-Constitution. In Lacaduc, she'll be covering stories about cows, horses, and the future farmers of America. Slow pace. That's what she thinks. However, She learns from everyone about this missing girl named Della McCarthy, who's 17. The last one to see her alive was Crazy Mike, and no one knows or seen her lately. And this is where Libby's investigative reporting starts to kick in, because she sees a story. I admire Libby because she goes after the story full throttle, and while she encounters countless distractions, if you will, she gets her story, and she helps a mom who's been missing her daughter. I will share with you tidbits to whet your appetite to make you read this book. I hope you read this book because it's very good. Okay, on page 40, I promised you background on this case, Luke says, and I always keep my promises. Libby eyed the folder again. Maybe it wasn't so extraordinary. Maybe he was just a good researcher or a hard worker. She hoped so, because it'd been a long time since she met a man who kept his promises. It would be a darn shame if he turned out to be the serial killer. Okay, so hair's bothering me. Read page 59, it says, Donna. Okay. Libby watched Luke thread his way through the chairs and the tables, heading out to pick up stuff for his dad. It seemed like he was always helping someone. Who would have thought she met such a nice guy her first day here? Too bad that she wasn't looking for a cowboy to call her own. Because she wasn't, she reminded herself. The last thing she needed in her life was more boy trouble. She'd had enough of that heartache with Bill to last a lifetime, and she had a feeling cowboy trouble would even be worse. So we're going to page 82, where they're having a conversation about the farm, if you will. Is it a poultry farm or is it a ranch? Again, that kind of argument. This is going to be a serious poultry farm, isn't it? He wondered if she could tell from his tone that he was serious about something far more interesting than chicken farming. He was starting to really like this woman. Like her, want her, respect her, all at once. It was a new experience for him. Poultry ranch. She seemed oblivious to his undercurrents flowing through the conversation. And I prefer to call it a herd. That's not the correct chicken terminology, is it? I thought it was a flock. Not out here in Wyoming, where the men are men and the sheep are scared. Here in the West, we call it a herd. Setting her hand on her hips, she lowered her brows in a schoolmarm squint. Repeat after me. Libby runs 75 head of chickens on her poultry ranch. He laughed. You are really getting the hang of this Western living, aren't you? You bet, cowboy. She cocked a hip and grinned. The pose was spunky and somehow seductive. Maybe she was sensing those undercurrents after all. I guess this makes you a chicken wrangler, doesn't it? It sure does. She tossed her hair. I'm a top hand. He scanned her from her bare feet to her ragged cutoffs, then moved his gaze up to her skimpy tank top. You certainly are, but we need to outfit you accordingly. Chaps, I think, and a cowboy hat. His eyes worked their way back down her body, taking their time and pausing to linger on every curve. Nothing else, he said softly. Now, questions I want you to ponder in order to read this book right here with this handsome hunk. Did Libby fall in love with Luke, or did she fall in love with the sheriff? What happened to Della McCarthy? Did Libby's past as a crime reporter help find Della? Who was responsible for Della's disappearance? Did Libby disappear during the finding of Della? Who is responsible? Okay, we did that. Did Libby's poultry ranch, or was it a farm? I had to do that one as a joke. Anyway, what is the book rating for this very enticing book? It gets a 7. That's right, 7. So be sure that you go out and pick up Cowboy Trouble. That completes my YouTube videos for tonight. I don't know when I'll see you again because this week is going to be hectic and insane. All I can tell you is that I will do my best to get back with you guys. I know we have got some relationship issues and questions on the line that I'm going to get to. I promise I'm going to get to. If I don't get to it right away, know that it is in the future. We're going to do some Q&As again with yours truly coming up. But I just had to do these book reviews with you because everybody's enjoying my book club, if you will. I guess we'll call it that. Bombshell Book Club. There we go. And I just think it's fun, and it's something you guys can go out, hopefully either go to your place where you get books at a discount or go to a place that you can get them offline or your local library. See if you can pick up these books because you won't be disappointed. And I'll see you again in the future.